Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. The 2025 nickel tariff war has ignited one of the fiercest clashes between Washington and Ottawa in decades. A 20 to 30% duty on EV metals, especially nickel, sent shockwaves through Detroit's battery belt, inflating costs and pushing EV prices beyond reach. Canada, once America's steady supplier, retaliated, redirecting exports to Europe and Asia while fueling its own industries. Now, with whispers of tariff exemptions surfacing, the battlefield shifts again. Buckle up. Here are the pivotal moves, sharp counterpunches, and what this showdown means for the future of EVs and the auto world. When tariffs collide with nickel's artery. For decades, Canadian nickel was Detroit's quiet advantage, flowing from Sudbury's mines to fuel America's EV revolution. By 2024, $3.9 billion worth of nickel crossed the border annually, powering everything from Tesla packs to GM's Ultium cells. But in August 2025, tariffs of up to 30% didn't just target China, they hit Canada too. The math was brutal. Each NMC 811 SUV battery needs about 38 kilograms of nickel, roughly $775 per pack. Add a 30% tariff, and costs jump nearly $250, slicing GM's EV margins from 10% to barely 8.5%. Scale that across production lines, and billions vanish overnight. Consumers felt it fast. Analysts warned of 94,000 fewer EV sales in 2026 as prices climbed. Ford's F-150 Lightning, once forecast at $67,500, now pushes $72,500, out of reach for many households. Gas trucks suddenly looked like bargains again. A tariff billed as job protection instead gutted margins, shrank sales, and cast doubt on Detroit's EV future. But Canada wasn't about to idle. It shifted gears with a strategic counterpunch. Canada's precision counterstrike. Ottawa skipped the podium drama and went straight to policy. In July 2025, 4 decisive measures reshaped the trade battlefield. First, a 15% export tax on raw nickel ended decades of duty-free access for U.S. cathode makers. Second, a carbon tracking system favored Ontario's hydro-powered green nickel, while dirtier output was redirected elsewhere, forcing U.S. buyers to choose clean or lose supply. Third, a $257 million Canadian dollars fund boosted LFP battery production, reducing future nickel dependence. Fourth, tax incentives secured Stellantis LG's Windsor Gigafactory, anchoring EV jobs in Canada. By July's close, analysts projected $1.8 billion in redirected trade toward South Korea and Europe by 2027. Then came the knockout. Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled a $5 billion Canadian dollars Buy Canadian program, demanding domestic sourcing of steel, aluminum, and nickel. Exports to South Korea and Germany surged, while America's share shrank. This wasn't mere retaliation. Canada was diversifying, investing, and converting Washington's tariff weapon into its own strategic advantage. And just as Ottawa strengthened its hand, a new factor entered the game: global carbon penalties. Before we go further, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Piston Pundit. It helps us bring you more deep dives into the machines, markets, and moves shaping our world. Green rules, global pressures. Tariffs were just the first punch. Carbon costs are the looming knockout. In 2026, the EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism will slap €115 per ton of carbon dioxide embedded in imports. For U.S. automakers relying on nickel from Indonesia or the Philippines, that's a financial landmine. The numbers are stark. Ontario's hydro-refined nickel emits just 4.2 tons of carbon dioxide per ton. Indonesian laterite nickel, 36 tons, nearly 9 times dirtier. Chinese output averages 18. Each EV built with dirty nickel could rack up hundreds in carbon penalties when exported to Europe. That spells trouble for GM and Ford, already scraping thin margins. Europe, one of the fastest-growing EV markets, could slip away. Canada, meanwhile, is capitalizing, inking deals with Germany and South Korea to ship green nickel immune to EU surcharges. Layer in Russia's war, Indonesia's environmental baggage, and China's refining dominance, and Washington's tariffs look like a diplomatic blunder. The US risks costs at home or penalties abroad, while Canada plays the smarter hand. But just as the walls closed in, a sudden twist cracked open a possible path to exemptions. Tariff turns, exemptions on the horizon. Just as tensions peaked, a new twist appeared. On September 5, 2025, Trump signed an order creating tariff exemptions for aligned partners under reciprocal trade deals. Nickel was on the list, but Canada, despite being America's #2 trading partner, wasn't guaranteed a slot. Prime Minister Mark Carney quickly countered, suspending Canada's 20% EV mandate for 2026 to ease automaker pain and launching a $5 billion Canadian dollars fund to shield industries from US tariffs. The move signaled Ottawa's willingness to compromise while still defending its interests. With over 85% of bilateral trade already tariff-free under USMCA, nickel could soon regain its lifeline status. Yet uncertainty remains. Analysts peg the odds of a deal at 60%, with Wall Street betting on either full exemptions or a blended 20 to 25% tariff. GM has already trimmed its 2026 EV outlook by 50,000 units, a $3.2 billion hit. What began as confrontation is sliding into negotiation, but time is short. Detroit's factories can't idle forever, which raises the bigger question: who really controls nickel's future? The nickel endgame. Who holds the winning hand? Nickel is no longer just a metal, it's a geopolitical chess piece. And Canada, not Washington, holds the center of the board. Contracts with Seoul and Hamburg have diversified Ottawa's buyers. Europe, desperate for clean supply, is embracing Ontario's low-carbon nickel, while South Korea has boosted imports by nearly 20% since spring. Canada isn't waiting on US approval, it's already moving on. Critical minerals give Ottawa leverage. At $20,000 per ton, nickel is valuable, lightweight, and vital for EVs, aerospace, and defense. As Mark Selby of Canada Nickel Company put it, if the US doesn't want our nickel, Europe will. For America, losing secure supply in favor of Russian or Indonesian sources is a strategic and security liability. Defense contractors, reliant on nickel-heavy jet engines, are sounding alarms. Meanwhile, rising EV prices risk turning electrification into a luxury badge, not a mainstream shift. Canada has safeguarded its role as green supplier of choice, while the US risks losing both competitiveness and confidence. And that brings us to the verdict: the nickel gambit. Canada advances, US at the crossroads. What began as a tariff meant to protect American jobs has instead ricocheted through Detroit, pushing costs higher and threatening EV sales. Canada, rather than folding, doubled down, diversifying exports, investing in cleaner tech, and wielding nickel as both shield and sword. Now exemptions are on the table, and the US faces a choice: partner with its closest ally and stabilize the EV supply chain, or cling to protectionism and risk ceding the future to Europe and Asia. The nickel gambit proves one thing: resources once buried underground now determine the fate of industries, alliances, and climate goals. The road forward is still open, but only if Washington remembers that allies don't belong on the enemy list. Now let's hear from you. Do you think Washington will grant Canada the tariff exemptions, or will the standoff drag on? Has this trade war made you rethink the affordability and future of EVs in America? With Europe and Asia racing ahead, can the US still claim leadership in the EV transition? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments. We love to hear from you. Before we shift into neutral, don't forget, hit that subscribe button to Piston Pundit so you'll never miss the next update on cars, trade, and technology. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.